Hey guys, welcome back to the hangar. In this episode, we are going to take a quick break from working on the house and we are going to do some long overdue maintenance on the old pickup truck. So let me show you what I got going on. So this is my 2007 Ford F-150. About 6 years ago or so, I built this custom 8-foot flatbed for this pickup truck. It was originally a 6-foot bed short box pickup truck, and I changed that out and installed this 8-foot custom flatbed. Now when I installed this flatbed, at the time I just put this decking down with normal 2x10s. There's nothing special about them. They weren't pressure treated or anything, and they had a pretty good run. They made it 5-6 years or so, but they are finally starting to rot away. And I need to replace these boards. So I didn't put pressure treated 2x10s on here when I first built it because of the price. Now the price of lumber hasn't gone up any, and it's actually similarly priced to go ahead and go with composite deck boards. So this is what I'm going to put on the bed of the truck this time around. These are 1 inch thick by 5.5 inch thick composite deck boards. So these should actually never rot away. And hopefully they're a little bit more resilient than the boards that I had on there the last time. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and start by pulling all the deck boards off. After that, I'm going to take a look at maybe repainting everything. It needs a nice fresh coat of black paint. I need to change out the tail lights probably at some point, but I can do that really at any time. And that should be about it. Just a little refresh on the old flatbed. Well, I am about out of daylight, so that is as far as I'm going to get today. So here is the actual frame and skeleton of this flatbed that I built several years back. I didn't film myself building any of it, but I did take a bunch of pictures, so maybe I'll flash some pictures up on the top of the screen of me putting it together back in the day. So it all started with a couple of trailer fenders that I got from Northern Tool. They weren't wide enough to fit over my truck tires, so I had to stretch them out and kind of add that back to them. Next, I just kind of built a frame that captured all the stock bed mounts that were on the original bed and just made it out of box tube, added a headache rack and some expanded metal to protect the rear windshield. After it was all welded up, threw a quick coat of paint on it, got it back on the truck, put some decking down. You can see this is just normal non-pressure treated pine. After that, I started wiring in the lights, just kind of conventional normal flatbed lights there. And once it was all done, I threw a coat of stain on the bed. But anyways, that's what it looks like all tore apart. So tomorrow or whenever I get free again, I will start cleaning it up and painting it. Once it's repainted, I will put the new decking down and it should be good to go for another many years. But as you can see, we got quite the beautiful sunset today. So what I am working on here is I am taking the mounts off so that I can jack the bed up and drive the truck out from underneath it. Don't worry about me supporting the weight of the truck on these buckets. The frame itself doesn't weigh hardly anything at all. After that, I was able to go ahead and remove the old lights because I am going to go ahead and replace those here after I get it painted and then give it a quick pressure wash. Finally, I wiped it down with some paint thinner so that it would be prepped for paint. I am sorry for the wind noise, but here is it stripped down to just the frame. So I got all of the wood, the boards off. I pressure washed everything and I wiped it down real quick with some paint thinner. Now, should I go through and wire wheel all the rust and the loose paint off? Probably. Am I going to do that? Absolutely not. This is a work truck. I'm going to treat it as such. I am just going to put a quick new coat of paint just to try and get the Hollywood side, the side that you'll see. Everything other than that, I'm going to leave just the way it is. One thing I am going to do while I have it down and part here, is I am going to weld up this seam that I missed when I built it. That has been annoying me for years that I didn't get that seam. So I will weld that up so it will look more like this other side. But after that, we'll put a quick coat of paint on it. Well, the weld was terrible. It is way too windy to be doing gas shielded welding, but I was too lazy to change out my spool for a flux core. But like they say, a grinder and paint makes me the welder I ain't. So that's good enough for me. Let's get some paint on this thing. Well, okay, so here we go. We got the good old Project Source spray paint, the $1.50 a can stuff as opposed to the $5 a can stuff. So this whole case cost $18 as opposed to $60. That being said, going with a glossy black as opposed to a flat black like I had on it before, see if the glossy kind of holds up and doesn't fade as quick. But this being the cheap spray paint it is, I bet you it goes on thin and runny. So it's going to be lots of coats, lots of very light coats. So let's hop to it. So it is just too windy. I tried. It actually just blew my ladder over. The wind is blowing so hard. I am going to have to wait until nightfall or something else in order to try and put paint on this thing. So while I've been waiting on the wind to dry down, I went ahead and cut and laid out the decking on the bed. So here you can see what it's going to look like once it's all in place. Kind of get an idea. Here's a scrap piece of the composite decking, so should never rot. You know, should have a fairly long life. I'm real happy with how it turned out. I think it looks pretty good. When I just measured the width for my area, I forgot about the back. So I did get a little bit extra, but I only got about one piece extra, which is not going to be enough for me to finish the back. So I'll get it all painted, the bed on it, put it together, and I'll have to take it back to the store to get another couple sticks to finish up the back that goes up against the cab. But that's what the deck itself is going to look like, and I think it turned out pretty great. So I woke up the next morning and threw a coat of paint on when it was still kind of dark outside, so I did not get any of that on film, but I did get a quick coat of paint when it was calmer in the morning. After that, I got the truck back up underneath it like you just saw, and here I am fitting the deck boards back on the bed. Everywhere I could, I tried to reuse the holes that I had drilled from the previous bed, but those were made from 2x10s and these are made from 1x6s, I guess. So the bolt holes didn't match up exactly. So I did have to re-drill some holes here and there. I was trying to minimize the number of doing that just so I don't fill the cross beams up with a bunch of holes. I changed my design layout for where I wanted the D-rings here, so I put them in all four corners, and then I added another couple in between the wheel wells so that I had another kind of tie point. Finally, I can start wiring in the new tail lights. It's just the same process as before, just new ones with clean plastic or glass so that you can actually see them when they're on, but pretty straightforward to wire in. Finally, I add those last few boards up against the cab to kind of give a back to the bed where you butt things up against the headache rack. Well, all right, there it is, all back together again. So I think it turned out pretty good. The coat of paint definitely helped a ton. It's kind of hard to see because it's getting dark here, but the nice fresh coat of black definitely makes a big difference. Replacing the tail lights and the backup lights also made a huge difference because they were getting pretty dingy and hard to see out of. I'm really happy with how the composite deck turned out. I think it looks really good. So there you go. That's kind of how it turned out. All right, guys, that's going to do it for that video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got to see kind of what I did to refresh the flatbed, which I'm really happy with. It was kind of a break from working on the hangar, but I had to get this done because I travel so much for work, and with the wood being rotted and stuff like it was getting to be hazardous going down the highway with that deck. Every time you'd hit bumps, you'd hear it slap up and down because it was coming loose. So I absolutely had to get that fixed, and it is done now. So in the next videos, we will be back to working on the house.